What's up, everybody? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and I am super happy to have Nicole Brenny on my channel again. It has been so long since I had you on my channel, Nicole.
Yes, it's been like a year or something like that, maybe a little less.
Yeah, well, when was it? When was the last time? I mean, I know we did that awesome interview January 31st for the lunar eclipse in Leo.
Then we talked about, actually, this is amazing. We talked about Uranus entering Taurus. That was the last time that we had a conversation, and now look at us.
I
Uranus is
know, here it
entering
all
Taurus
is now,
again.
full circle. But I think that this is a pretty incredible time because, well, number one, 2019 is like super crazy with how much is going on. And I think that it's crazy for us because we're going to be going out to the Maldives together to teach astrology. It's like last year, I would have never thought of that.
No, and I would have actually, it's really weird because I had a client one time that was like, I love this reading so much. Let me buy you a plane ticket up to go on vacation somewhere. And he's like, where do you want to go? And I said, yeah, I'll go to the Maldives. And then he like disappeared or whatever because, people make these weird promises sometimes. And I knew that happens. But now it's actually happening. And it's not just some random guy offering to buy me a plane ticket somewhere. It's to teach astrology, which is amazing.
Yeah. So, what are you going to be teaching at the retreat?
Well, I study the cards of truth, which are cards that you cast in the moment, as well as cards that are aligned with your birth data. So your birth date, time, and location aligns you with one of the 52 cards in the deck. And from that, it's almost like looking at a birth chart, but with cards. So I am actually teaching two courses, one that is kind of derived from the cards of truth study that I've done, and that is a course on spiritual survival. So you don't need to know anything about the cards. It's like you could be going through a breakup, you could be going through a really difficult and challenging financial time, or you could just understand that life is hard and want to be prepared for difficult times, including being trapped in the middle of nowhere, trying to survive like a really intense survival situation. And this course, through the wisdom of the cards of truth, which also involves a study of astrology that I've done, can help you to give you the tips to get through any difficult time. So I'm teaching a really interesting course in survival for any survival situation based off of spiritual principles. And then I'm teaching a course on past lifetimes, which will include a little mini past life reading for everyone that attends. And that will be like a limited number of people. It won't be open to everyone. So I'm super excited because those are two topics that I'm pretty obsessed with.
And I want to say that I'm obsessed with them too. As you know, like behind the scenes when we talk, like I'm obsessed with cards of truth, but I'm nowhere near as like mastery level of your level. I'm like it's my fun thing to do. It's like what I always do in the background, or I'll always like up someone's birthday and I'll be like, oh, what card are they?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, and it kind of fits my card. I'm a 5 of clubs, so I'm like always thinking about everything. I need to understand everything. So to me, the cards of truth sit the most, I think, with me, because sure, like in astrology, I'm a Leo and I like to have fun and all this stuff. But there's something about those cards of truth that just kind of, for a divination tool of just like, here's your birthday, here's your card, give you so much like really interesting data that just blow my mind every time. I'm like, this is just so me. And then, or this is so that person. I always like, instead of saying like, oh, look at the Leo in them or the Libra, I'm always like, gosh, look at that, 6 of spades, and look at that, oh yeah, look at the spade and them coming out, and that 6 coming out, and da 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 da.
Yeah, because also with this system, it's like in astrology, you have, in Vedic astrology, you have 7 planets, right? You disappeared. I'll just talk to everyone else here. Okay, so in Vedic astrology, you have 7 planets, and then you also have like the moons in the nakshatras, right? And the moon goes through 27 or 28 nakshatras, depending on which Vedic astrological system you're studying. But the cards, instead of using 28 nakshatras, or most places will use 27 nakshatras, we have 52 cards. So it's like more specific. And then all the combinations are even crazier because instead of just having 7 planets that you're examining, after your birth card, you have a whole set of 13 cards. And those 13 cards include your planetary placements. So it's like it gets to be way more specific than astrology. And because everyone is given it their own birth card, like you're a 5 of clubs and I'm an 8 of diamonds, when you make predictions, when you're actually looking at a person's spread or what's going to happen on a particular day, not only can you predict what is going to happen or the lessons that are going to come up, you can also predict with who those lessons might happen with, or who you're going to meet, or who you're going to be with, or if it's a romantic relationship showing up, who you might even date. So like today we're talking, you and I'm an 8 of diamonds and I'm on your path for this week. So this whole entire week, you and I could be having a lot of conversations, sending emails back and forth. You know, I could be watching all of your videos. You could be watching all of mine. It's just like we could have a lot of energy exchange because I am on your path this week.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what's so crazy about it.
Yeah. So I could be like, oh, I'm supposed to be meeting someone today. Who could it be? 5 of clubs. Okay, well, it could be David or it could be my boyfriend because my boyfriend is a 5 of clubs. So it's like I can predict, okay, this is going to happen, but who's it going to happen with, which you cannot do with astrology. I've never seen that done ever.
No, or it'll be funny because in tarot, somebody will throw up like, you know, like let's say a King of Cups and it'll be like, oh, this could be a male water sign.
Yes.
It's kind of like very general in that sense.
It can be general.
Where, like an actual card in the card of truth system is like, there's a birthday attached to it. Only what? How many birthdays per card would you say there really is? It like it's only like 4 or 5 or something like that?
Okay, so I'm not going to be able to say that with some great accuracy, but the cards actually, I think a few of my colleagues like made some charts, and some cards are more popular than other cards. Mm-hmm. So like there's going to be way more 5 of clubs than there are King of spades. Like King of spades is the rarest card. So right. I think there's only one day out of the year where you can be a King of spades. So it's interesting because
like January 1st or 2nd.
Yeah, I think it's January 1st. And so what's interesting is that like, okay, so you have like the cards that go in order. There's like an arrangement of cards that's like all the hearts, all of the clubs, all of the diamonds, whatever, in order. But there is a specific mathematical pattern called a quadration. And once you create that quadration, that's actually how the cards are in nature. So the cards in nature don't go from spades to hearts to clubs to diamonds. They go in this kind of random order. So you actually, with your card placement that you get, whether it's a King of spades or a 5 of clubs, whatever your birth card is, you actually see where you fit into nature. So it actually makes sense that there are less King of spades than other cards, because in this mystical pattern, which I think some people call the Queen quadration, some people call the solar quadration, you see like you are a specific piece of nature and you're playing a specific role. So of course there needs to be more 5 of clubs and King of spades because of the role that each of those cards has in all of nature. So it's actually an amazing system because it reminds us that we're actually a part of nature. We're not just like some superior being outside of nature where the laws of nature don't exist for us. The laws of nature absolutely rule our lives. And with the cards of truth, you get to see exactly how and what do you get to fulfill in your lifetime to be a part of this greater thing.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, we kind of see that in astrology. I know that there's been studies of like or it's outside of astrology, but just like what month is like the most people who are born.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I think it's June or something like that. And then because you got to kind of think about conception, like my parents must have been doing it on Halloween for me to be born. So that's kind of a random one. But
yes.
Right.
No, but
and
it's
then
like the colder months you want to be laying in bed.
Yeah. So then I think like there's something about, I think it's September and October too. But yeah, that's what's funny to me is like there is this kind of, I think, natural order, as you're calling it, in nature with all systems, even human design. Like I think it's 1% or not projectors, they're reflectors, which Michael Jackson was in the human design. So like every system kind of does have this kind of very unique element and this one like kind of unique area. And then of course there's the reason for all these other different ones too. And then I think some people go, oh man, I want to be that unique one. And then sometimes it's like, I don't know if you want really, are you sure? Are you sure that that's what the one you want to be?
Like, I want to be an INFJ because they're so rare. It's like, well, just be who you are.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot with the cards of truth. I mean, and especially because part of this is like what I'm doing in Maldives is evolutionary astrology and going like kind of into really deeper versions of it. But I feel that cards of truth are evolutionary astrology as well, and evolution of the soul because of this predictive element of the cycles that we go through in cards of truth. Like, why don't you describe some of these cycles that people go through, like on a simple way? Because I know one is like the 52 card day or day cycle, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of different cycles. And one thing that I actually love about the cards of truth is that my teacher, Ernst Wilhelm, kind of took it to another level where he added the astrological component on top of it, which has been done before, but he actually made it more astronomically sound. So it's actually going to be like related to where the planets actually are in the sky. And with that, the way that I look at transits, which sometimes confuses people, is I don't think of them as cycles. Because when I think of a cycle, I think of like a race car track where you're just running around in or driving around in a circle. Because as you know, Jupiter might be in Sagittarius just like it was 12 some years ago. But now Jupiter is in Sagittarius, and Saturn wasn't where Saturn was last time Jupiter was in Sagittarius. Now Saturn is in Capricorn. So everything is changing. So it's not really a cycle. To me, it's actually a spiral. It's something that, you know, according to like evolutionary astrology, we're always growing, we're always evolving, we're always becoming something more or better or whatever. We're becoming something different. We're always evolving, hence the word evolution. So with the cards of truth, because we have this element now added, especially like more accurately by Ernst, we get to see that evolutionary aspect, which isn't just the case when you just are, you know, quadrating and seeing these different patterns. So with the astrology, you get to see that evolutionary aspect. And you have your birth card spread, which is going to be from the day that you're born until the day that you die. Those are your like generic strengths and weaknesses. But then you are more so going to experience your sun card, which is the first card after your birth card in the 13 cards that create your spread. You're going to be in that card for the first 52 years of your life. And that's going to be the main energy. And every 52 years, you step into the next card. And they go from the sun to Pluto, following the order of the days of the week. So Sunday, sun, Monday, moon, all the way to Saturn, which would be Saturday, right? So you have those over these, you know, ruling periods. So right now, you and I, we're under the age of 52. We're in our sun card. So if I look at your chart, your sun card is the 3 of diamonds. So that's the card of like being an apprentice. It's a card of really working hard. It's a card of being an artisan, of learning and studying. So you're like this person that's always learning, always taking in new information, always working on your skills. Like you're never stopping and you're always working really, really hard.
Yeah, I'm like Merlin's assistant and he's like throwing all the crap on me.
It's the apprentice card. So you're like an apprentice to something greater, right? And you have a very, very strong 3 of diamonds card too, because the sun is in the sun card, so that is empowering it. And you're putting energy into your financial world. The diamonds is finances, and the 3 is putting your willpower and your energy into your financial world, building your financial world. And it's very strong because that is your sun card. So we have like, that's the overall umbrella. Then every 7 years, if we look more specifically, we go through, like you're saying, these cycles, or I call them spirals. So we're at a certain part of that spiral every 7 years. And that's going to kind of show these lessons that we're working on during a specific 7-year period. So for you, and actually my boyfriend, who's also a 5 of clubs, you guys are a 10 of clubs right now. So even though you're a 5 of clubs in general, right now you're a 10 of clubs. And you've been a 10 of clubs since the age of 28. And you will be a 10 of clubs until your next birthday. at which point you will become a Jack of clubs. So the
Oh,
10 of clubs,
God.
yeah,
That's
that'll
not a
be,
fun card.
I think I think it's really fun
Well,
because
I've just always heard that card is also associated with like kind of being a bullshitter, liar, or like some crazy shit like that. I have an ex that's Jack of clubs.
so let's be real though. There are higher frequencies and lower
I get
frequencies
it.
to anything. So the Jack of clubs at its best is someone that has a ton of ideas and is always being creative and wanting to manifest things. It's just like, I have all these ideas and I just need to make them happen. And, you know, it's a really exciting card. But until then, you're the 10 of clubs, which is the magician. So that's very powerful. It's also a really hardworking card, and you're able to juggle everything. Like, think about all the things that you're doing. It's like you're juggling everything. You're having to answer a million emails, a million phone calls, a million different social media platforms. And from the outside perspective, you do it in this amazing way. You make it look like magic. It's like, how does he even do that? You know, I'm an astrologer online too, and I'm looking at what you're doing. I'm like, that doesn't even seem possible. It seems like an illusion. You know, it's like, how do you make it all work? And that's the beauty of the 10 of clubs, is literally like juggling and like, you know, you make it happen and you don't take a break and you just barely even get to sleep.
I
You
know,
know?
and thank you, because people try to tell me like, "Oh, dude, you need to live a normal life." And I try to tell people, I'm like, "Okay, normal life? That sounds like the worst thing on the world. Shoot me now."
No, you're an explorer. 5 of clubs, they're explorers. They need to always be exploring new ideas, new philosophies, like just going into the unknown and exploring. The number 5 is a Jupiter number in this system. So it's like thinking big, you know? It's not about doing something small, especially when you have a strong spread like you do. Your spread's very empowered.
Well, thank you. I like
Yeah.
So tell us about the 52 days cycle one. I've always found that one to
Yes.
be so accurate. It's scary.
So yes. Okay. So then we have these 7 years, and then within those 7 years, so you're a 10 of clubs for 7 years, but you're also going to more specifically be another card for that year. So you're actually a 5 of clubs this year. So this could be a year where you really discover yourself, where it's really about you and your self-development more than anything else. And maybe even something essential that you need for your whole life journey will be revealed to you this 34th year. Then we look at the year itself. So that's like, it's like almost like we have an umbrella, which is your normal birth card spread, and then a smaller umbrella, which is a 7-year spread, and then a smaller umbrella, which is the card that is highlighted that year, and then a smaller umbrella, which is the year spread itself, where we get to look at 52-day windows.
Mm.
So you're in a King of Hearts energy for that tiniest umbrella that we're looking at, which is your ecliptic card. So again, a super, super important year for you. Like, out of the whole last 7 years, this is going to be a very intense and important year for you in terms of your emotional life, letting go emotionally. The King of Hearts makes emotional sacrifices that are necessary to rule his kingdom well. And that's your ecliptic card. So that's actually one of the biggest lessons of your entire life. And that can relate to any kind of relationship, but usually it's going to have an emotional nature to it. So it could be friends or anything. Then within all that
I got
lesson that
all my
you're,
emo music going on.
yeah, I've seen your Instagram stories. Okay, then we have these 52-day periods, and this is where it gets crazy. So every 52 days, you are running a specific lesson that your soul is supposed to learn. And depending on how that card is showing up, that lesson can be super easy to learn or super challenging, where there could be obstacles that come because of that. And that's all going to be dependent upon your natal birth card spread. So, you know, it's going to be different for everyone. So for instance, right now, between February 18th and April 11th of this year, you're in the Queen of Diamonds card on your Jupiter card position. So that's actually very powerful. And as I was saying before we even got on this call, is that that could mean that you're really putting your energy into managing your finances and to thinking about how you can manage your material world better, or just wanting to, you know, put energy into that in a way where you're growing things. It's like being a mother of your material world, like watering your plants every day. So it's a very, very powerful card in a powerful position.
Or like
And
some old lady, like looking at all of her jewels in the back and going, "Oh my gosh, do I need all these things?"
well, and if you're using that visual, it's like her polishing them and making sure they're, you know, ready to sell, and like hiring someone to come in and what's the word? Like
Yeah,
give
like
them a price.
appraise them. Yeah.
Yeah, praise them and get them ready to sell. Like you're every day putting energy into your skills and into how you can manage your resources better so that they grow. So it's all about growing your resources powerfully. So after that, you enter into a Venus period, which is the Two of Hearts. So that's all about love and connection. And you're going to be in that until June 2nd. So then it's going to be more heart centered. So right now it's more like material.
Well, what's after June 2nd? Because that's when we're in the Maldives.
Yes, that is going to be the Three of Diamonds, which is a super important card for you because, as I mentioned, your second umbrella, which
Right.
is your sun card, which rules you for the first 52 years of your life, is the Three of Diamonds. So it's a card of learning. It can also be related to teaching, but it's about like, for you, it's actually one of the cards that symbolizes yourself. So that could just be a really formative time of feeling like you're in yourself, feeling like you're in your power, feeling like you are putting energy into your, not putting energy into, like I'm using that to describe the Queen of Diamonds, but Queen of Diamonds is more managing your resources. Three of Diamonds is more putting energy and willpower into your resources. So it's going to be, I think that might be one of the periods in this 34th year where you're like really feeling that sense of like knowing yourself and being on your path and like reconnecting with your soul. So my sun card is the King of Spades. When I have that card, it's like me time, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, this is kind of an interesting question because in astrology, I always feel that so a lot of astrologers focus on like the new transit. Like, let's just use astrology, like Uranus came into Taurus or Mercury retrograde, like
Yeah.
in the day. But I always feel like it's the buildup and it's the days before. It's like the buildup is always the most intense, and then actually when the event happens, it's kind of a week, like kind of like okay, it's happened, like all right, like
Yes.
and there's kind of the residual effect of like kind of like okay after, but it's always this like buildup. Do you notice like before big transitions in the cards of truth, like let's say maybe a week before the year card changes or like a week or 2 or 3 days before the 52 card day changes, do you think like it all really comes really kind of intense with understanding that energy and then it kind of moves into the new card and then kind of you go in? Or
That's a really good question. And it's also incredibly complex. So I'm going to try to answer this really simply. I'm going to answer it in two different ways. So first off, with the astrological side of it, I think that people practice different types of astrology when it comes to reading transits. And one thing that I do is I use cusps. And that not everyone does that, especially studying Vedic astrology, because they are using equal house. So they'll be like, well, when Jupiter is in the 7th house, maybe a relationship will come. You'll meet someone. But I've noticed that when Jupiter is like exactly conjunct your 7th cusp, like that day is probably the actual day you'll meet them. So when you're using more specific transits and you understand the different karakas or signifiers of spouse or relationship, for example, in this case, you can make more specific predictions. So depending on how specific you're looking at transits, the actual transit itself might actually create that concrete thing. The house cusps create a concrete manifestation of the subject in question. But with the cards, it's similar and different because the cards actually will reflect the transits. And Ernst, in his Cards of Truth software, people don't know who I'm talking about. Ernst is like the guy that took the card system and made it more astronomically sound. And his name is Ernst Wilhelm. I've studied with
he's an
him.
amazing astrologer and he does
Yes.
awesome videos on all this stuff on his page too. Like it's amazing.
Yes. So look him up to learn more. So what I was saying is he actually put the transits into the Cards of Truth software because they really do reflect and mirror each other. And I will notice there's something called Planetary Chains. So this is exactly what you're talking about. In this card system, you have your sun card, moon card, Mars card, but then you have the planets themselves. And depending on what sign those planets are in transit, so we have, for instance, you know, maybe that year, the beginning of the year, moon was in the sign of Gemini. In the card spread, moon would be in the Mercury card because Mercury rules Gemini. So you have these different planets in the different cards, and depending on rulership, like for those of you, this might be a little bit complex, but for those of you that understand final dispositors or dispositorship, you can follow these chains of who rules over what planet rules over the other planets, and you can find the beginning of an event all the way towards the culmination of an event. So even if you're stepping into a window that represents love, so for you, for instance, your Venus card is the Two of Hearts, so that could be heartfelt connections that are coming into your life starting in April. Even though you're in this heartfelt connection window in April, Venus could have been active earlier in that spread, and that could just be a culmination of that energy. But I do notice that the prediction itself, like the most potent thing, usually happens in the card that represents that potent thing. But because of the way that the planets rule each other, it's not the full story. Is that confusing? Because it's very hard to explain that.
No, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think especially when you bring up, you know, like the dispositor aspect, it's like there are a lot of things that go deeper into all this. You can just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. But knowing like the rulers of certain planets, and then especially there's rulers in your own spread in this system, you know, like it's going to give you more answers than you realize. And then as you say, that Venus might have been active, you know, let's say at a certain point during that 52 card day, because you have all these other cards during the day that are there's so many different cards that honestly, to me, it's like, I just like wish somebody came out with an app with it that like did it all and gave me my card of the day and because I would just be on that all day. It really reminds me also of the Mahadashas in Vedic, which to be honest with you are so accurate, it's scary.
Yes, and Ernst and Srishti, his wife, as far as I knew a year ago, they were working on an app. I don't know if they still are. They probably are in the background. So that's probably going to happen at some point. And yeah, the cool thing about this is like we have all these systems, and I actually do a reading called the Diamond Reading where I use Vedic astrology, the Cards of Truth, tarot cards cast in the moment, and the transits themselves. So I actually combine all these systems together because you get confluence and you can start to see patterns. And so if you're looking at a person's chart and you're like, okay, you might meet someone when Jupiter is here, but then you look at the Cards of Truth and you see the exact dates are lighting up, then you can say with way more confidence, whoa, you're probably like 90% chance going to meet someone between November 15th and, you know, February 2nd. It's like you can get so specific. And I've actually predicted breakups. I predicted like literally to the minute when I'll start fighting with someone. Yeah. Or, you know, I got in not in a fight, but I got in like a misunderstanding with one of my closest friends. And it was like so sad. I was like, I cannot believe that we're in a misunderstanding with each other. Because it wasn't a fight. It's like something wasn't communicated well. And I went and I looked at my card spread and I could see that by that evening of that day, it was going to be resolved and everything was going to be fine and we were going to come to an understanding. So I knew that everything was going to be okay, but it was crazy because it literally showed up in my spread saying, okay, by 6 p.m., everything's going to be fine. And it was like in that time window at like 4:30 that finally we were like, okay, everything's cool. We understand each other now. So it's like the predictions you can make are just way more specific than anything I've been able to do with astrology, you know? And the person that I was in a disagreement with, his birth card was showing up at the time on the day that we were having a disagreement in a hard position. Like, you are going to have a disagreement with this person. So it was like I could have predicted it days earlier too if I was looking.
Right. And that's why I feel, because like in the Mahadaha, I'm not a Vedic astrologer. Everybody knows this. Everybody on here knows I'm a Western astrologer, because just alone I won't be able to say the names right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Mahadasha system. You know how it goes into like Antardasha, right? Is the actual like, okay, Rahu 18, you know, and then it will go into like Rahu or what, you know, or whatever planet, and then you go into that, and then it like springs off into the
Pratyantardasha, something.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I've got it to where it'll go into the Sukshma Dasha, which will give you even like more. Then I've got it to where it'll go. Today's the 8th, right? So now I'm in a Rahu moon, Jupiter. Then I will go to the exact hours of that and days and the hours. And it will literally blow your mind. I literally went back on the most crazy events of my life, and it calls it down to like the hour. I'm like,
yes, you can do that. It's pretty insane. And actually that using the dasha system is also a way to rectify birth charts, to figure out a person's birth time if they don't know it, because you can take events from their lives and you can match it up against the dashas and the transits and figure out if their birth time is accurate. I used to do it and it would take like weeks to do, but it wasn't really worth it because it was insane.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think, and I'll be real, as a reader, I mean, personally, because I feel like reading somebody is a very more intuitive thing. And when you start getting like with the dasha system, like it's very more mechanical and like, you know, and it kind of pulls you out of the intuitive vibration, where I feel like there's something about the cards of truth which feel much more intuitive, like because there's a little bit more life to it, where I feel like this is just like, there's so many things like Rahu, do, moon, boom, boom, and then Saturn, and then boom, and then boom. And it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, it's like, I feel like there's life with the cards, and the cards are connected with planetary alignments and systems in that system. So it gives it life, and it gives it an intuitive life. That's why I like a chart, because there's life. There's life in a chart. You feel it, you see it. But like the dasha system feels like my CPA giving me my like financial report for 2018. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, oh, when, okay, at what month and what day did I like have a P&L like not go right? My profit and loss was this and that. But okay, yeah, all right, yeah, that was exactly the day that like, you know, I forgot to put up an email. You know what I mean? Like,
it's okay. You're absolutely right. And when I first started my business, I took this client that wanted me to predict when him and his wife were going to get pregnant. I took 48 hours going through every single dasha, every single transit. Like literally it felt like I was like a computer nerd. Like, okay, this has, you know, moon has this agenda on this day and moon has this agenda on that day. And he's in moon Saturn and Saturn has this agenda. And I was like making lists and crossing things out, and 48 hours of like drinking coffee and doing this. And I got an email from him a few weeks ago saying that I predicted to the week when him and his wife were going to get pregnant. And I was right. But it's like, first off, I don't even know how predictions like that are even helpful most of the time. And also, most astrologers aren't going to spend 48 hours answering a 15-minute question that they're going to get paid $30 to answer. It's like, it's just not like a thing that you're going to do. But I was, of course, like starting out and having fun and loving exploring the technical stuff. But to me, I, just like you, I enjoy the intuitive aspect. And I think what you're tapping into about the cards is the fact that all of the cards literally represent all of nature all around you in the most minimal, basic way possible. You have the 4 elements, you have earth, air, fire, and water, and you have the 2 polarities, male and female, black and red, and you don't have anything else. And those 2 polarities and those 4 elements and the white background creates all of life. And you're not giving it an image, you're not giving it an artistic flavor, you're not giving it an interpretation. There's no interpretation. It's as simple as it can get. And when you are placed in front of nature, viewing nature in that simple way, you start to be able to use your intuition well because you're not distracted. You're not seeing, you know, everything that everyone has said about the memes of, or Pisces in the memes that you find on the internet. You're just literally looking at the pure thing. You know, the Ace of Clubs, a leaf. You know, you're relating to the basic elements of nature and all that's around you in the purest way possible. And for me, I thought, when I first started, I thought, well, this is the most boring, stupid thing ever. Because I'm used to these, Earth's tried to get me to study this like a year before I even did. And I was like, sorry, I already have tarot. This seems boring. But once I actually started, I was like, this is the most powerful system I ever used. You know, like simple is sometimes better. I really think that, like, I'm obsessed with the cards. I literally devote most of my time when I'm not surfing and taking clients. The rest of the time is thinking about the cards, writing about the cards, or, you know, like being with card spreads and looking at dates and stuff. It's like, they are amazing. And that's why I want more people to study them. And that's why I'm teaching a class in them, because they are just incredible. It's incredible.
It's so funny that you like were like totally turned off by it at first, because it's so opposite. I actually got into it like over 10 years ago. And
so before me.
but way before you. And I should have like, you know, really got on the train and like got the program and start doing it all. But I just was like kind of how some like astrologers start out, like just understanding the 12 zodiac signs really well. Like that's kind of like what I got into, was just like, oh, getting to know what the spades are like and what the clubs are like, what the hearts are like, what the diamonds are like, and then knowing the numbers and knowing and kind of just doing that and just having fun and having a really good blast. And then there was this woman on Soul Garden I was on this in the spiritual community for a long time in the 2000s, and she was really into the card system. And she goes, "Oh my God, you're a fucking 5 of clubs. I'm a 5 of clubs too. What up?" And she's a Leo like me. And like, so of course we just went, and we were just like, she just started showing me like, look at, you're in your 52 and and she was using a book, like old school, like this thing was from like the 70s, you know, like she was, and it was huge. And she was using all the, like, I was like, okay, whoa. I'm like, there's actually all that stuff. And then of course I got really into astrology, and I just kind of went, but that's always been something in the background I have fun with, or, you know, if I look at relationships or people and stuff, I'm always like, what is that? Even on my Instagram, it says 5 of clubs, you know what I mean? Like I've always kind of rocked it, but like you have done such a great job, and you're really kind of like the new voice of it. And I feel like it's going to be awesome for people to learn from you this in the Maldives, because, you know, everybody that's going, like, especially in the astrology part, like we got you and me and Jody Petrie
and Alyssa
Sharp, right?
Sharp Trahan. Yeah, she's coming. She's confirmed it. She's just like not updated on the website, and yeah, she's in. And I'm so excited because she is so like, I feel like she's like a cutting edge astrologer. Like the stuff that she talks about, it's like she's really pushing things far.
Yeah, and you know, and I've been friends with her a long time too. And it's cool because it's everybody's got their own way of doing it. And, you know, I feel that this combination that you do with astrology is so like amazing. And it totally will blow people's minds, because I don't think a lot of people really get it yet or understand it. And I think that it's going to be awesome for people to finally really start to see this new dawn. And I feel astrology is at a new dawn, that it's not just stuck with Western or not just stuck with Vedic and just being in that only, but I'm using both. I'm using, you know, other things. Like I'll use like the cards of truth in the background, or like I'll use other little weird things that I have that I don't reveal everything, but, you know, and it's about learning to bridge all these things, because you can totally get the whole picture in a different way.
Yeah, and it's about being able to see those connections. And when you can see more connections, you can say something with more authority and more clarity. And it's like, you know, because we have all these systems, I think we are seeing what's actually there more fully. Yeah. It's like, you know, people from all different parts of the world. We're all looking at the same thing, just a different side of it. And now that we're all coming together with the internet and all this extra connectivity that we have, it's like, okay, well, you're only seeing that side of the building. Now we have the full 360-degree view. So why aren't we using that information? For me, it's simple and easy and natural to do.
Yeah, it's very natural for you, especially, I don't know, the cards of truth in you just sit really well. They just kind of flow with you well. I think as a 5 of clubs, for me, I would just get a little too like I'd feel like I'm like 52 card pickup. You know what I mean? Oh my God, hold on. Even when I had to, like, we were doing this, my door opened because there's wind and I live right here on the harbor, and I'm sitting there and I'm holding my cat. I'm such a 5 of clubs, right? I'm holding my cat. I'm talking to you. I'm watching the door go like this. And I'm like, okay, mute right when you go, and then close the door. They come back and I'm like, I'm here. I'm fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, cards of truth is a little bit like, okay, so you got 52, and then you got your 1 year, and then you got this, and your solar return, and it's
you can do it though. And okay, my favorite thing about the 5 of clubs, because there have been so many 5 of clubs people in my life. So I know 5 of clubs very well. And my favorite thing about the 5 of clubs is you guys can learn anything. It's like you can learn things so quickly, and you can learn anything that you need to. And you might not always like learn things as intensely or deeply as you want to, but 5 of clubs usually go pretty deep. But you'll use whatever you need to solve whatever problem you need to solve. So if that's helping out a client, solving a client's problem, you're gonna use whatever technique makes sense, and that's that Jupiter part of the 5 of clubs is like, you want to expand your mind. You want to just explore. So I think for any 5 of clubs, like, it's not outside of your realm. It's just that it's another thing to get excited about. And maybe there's already a lot on your plate, especially with your 10 of clubs running right now. It's like you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, I have an old book called Love Cards. It's the Cards of Truth. And they call it.
No, that's the Cards of Destiny.
I know, or Destiny. Yeah. They call, but anyways, it's an old book. They call 5 of clubs the quest for truth. And I'm always like, yeah, that's totally me. But it's weird. You're right. I will learn anything right away. But some things are I want to learn it. Like, let's say, like, oh, I need to fix my car. I'll never forget, like, oh, I can do this. Like, I tried to change out like a bunch of parts on the car myself. Like, I got this. Why go to the dealer, And sure, I got in there. I figured it out. But it, like, I almost caused my own ruckus, if that makes sense. So some things I feel it's like I can learn it, but there's like a limit to where it's like, you know what? I know I figured it out, but I don't need to prove it to myself. I think 5 of clubs, sometimes we just want to prove that we know everything, but we just really can't know everything too at the same time. Like, there's some things that we can like let our ego down. Maybe it's a Leo 5 of club thing where it's like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. Well, hold on real quick.
Yes. Yeah, no, 5 of clubs.
That's what you're going to show people is like, look at these systems. Like, look at the clubs, look at the spades, look at this, look at the numbers, but then like applying it to their zodiac, applying it to how they are in their chart, like I'm a Leo 5 of clubs. So that's going to be different than, like a Virgo 5 of clubs,
Totally. Yeah. I used to date a Leo 5 of clubs a long time ago. And that's more like, you guys are more performers. Like, he was a performer. He was like a well-known musician. You know what I mean? It's like, that brings out that aspect of a 5 of clubs. But then other 5 of clubs people that I know, they're not, because of their astrology, they're not wanting to like be famous or something. They're like more reserved, but they still have this freedom, expansive, problem-solving aspect to them. So it's totally that way. And that's what's nice about doing my diamond reading, is that it's like I am able to kind of more pinpoint how that 5 of clubs is going to express itself. Like, I know plenty of 8 of diamonds, but they're not all like me. I know plenty of Queen of clubs, but they're not all using their amazing creative potential the way that they could be. So it's like, that's where the astrology comes into play. And that's when you can actually look at the chart, or you can get really good at looking at the planets inside of the cards to kind of read that. So it's really fun. And okay, so I'm teaching a course in the Cards of Truth starting on April 22nd, so people can literally learn how to read their entire spread. So you can do this if you want to get certified and start reading for people. I have students that took my class and they now have professional practices, or I have students that took my class and they just did it for self-knowledge. So you can do it that way. But what was I going to say? But at the Maldives retreat, what we're going to do there from June 1st to June 9th, I'm actually, as part of your ticket, as part of what you pay to get in, you can get a reading with me. And I can do, like I can use your cards and astrology and everything. So if you go to the Maldives with us, as part of what you pay, you don't have to pay anything extra. You can get a reading with me. There'll be a limited number, but that'll be super fun to like talk about the cards, and then people can actually experience them for themselves.
Yeah, and the background's not going to be a bad background to get a reading at.
No.
You know,
So hopefully I won't get sand in my laptop.
For me for a reading in the Maldives, because then I'm going to be like tripping out. My 52 card my 52 card is changing in the Maldives on the second day.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely do a reading for you, and we'll do readings for each other when we're there. But I think I looked at both of our spreads for when we're there, and I think it's gonna be pretty good. I'm not worried.
Yeah, and then I did the astrology, and I was like, okay, it's good. I'm chill. I'm like, whew, you know.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, it's actually a really, I think, pivotal point after all the transitions astrologically that we're going through right now. It's all at that point, that Maldives retreat, that June period is kind of like, okay, I get everything now, finally. I think that there's this point right now of where everything right now is just, you know, like what is it is all going to be? And then I really feel like June is a very big month of understanding. And I think that, I know we're going to go into astrology for a second, but since December, I mean, honestly, this is going back a long time. Mercury has not been happy. Mercury went retrograde in its sign of its, you know, of its detriment. And then, then Sag, right? And then it went through Capricorn with Saturn and Pluto. And then it went into Aquarius and was at its fastest. So it was not even there a month, you know, it was just like in and out. And then it went into Pisces, where it's going to be for over 60 days. You know, it's like the worst sign for it to be in retrograde with Neptune, with all these transitions in the universe happening with outer planets and the South Node, K2 and Pluto coming and all this crazy stuff. So Mercury is a neutral planet because it can become a malefic, or it really can go on the benefic side. But it's interesting that it's kind of been in the more malefic stage for 6 months. So I think when it comes to understanding life, understanding where things are going, you know, it's very kind of hardcore Mercury. It's like Mercury's got to put on the truth thing on the harder scale about life. Whereas I think, you know, when Mercury's a benefic, you know, it's like, I just arrived from hanging out with God and Archangel Michael, and I have a great message for you today. But, you know, like Mercury right now is like coming out of the, you know, like the zombies, like run, you know what I mean? Like get out of it or whatever. Like, you know, it's like, whoa, you know, like that's where like I love Mercury. He's my favorite, or she, you know, I don't even know what to call Mercury. It's neutral. But like Mercury's my favorite planet. For real. And I feel that at the Maldives is the moment when things start changing to that Mercury benefic side, because that's the whole part, is like Mercury has been through hell, and Mercury all rules our attitudes. It rules our overall, you know, understanding of just things. And it's the original ruler of astrology in Western astrology. And I still hold it as the original ruler, because Mercury is kind of the total understanding of things. And I'll be honest, if I were to make the cards of truth kind of like a planet, I would say it's so Mercury. It's so like, oh my gosh, look at and look at all these like patterns and understanding them, and it's very mercurial, which is why I like it. It keeps me stimulated. Whereas a lot of systems like runes, or I'll be honest, I get bored with tarot. Like I'm just kind of like, okay, like the cards of truth. Like I'm like, oh, I've never seen this in my life before, but I've gotten a tower card before many times in my life, or I've gotten, you know, the Lover's card or whatever. But you know, I've never gotten, you know, this 1 year card with this 52 day card, you know, and then when I'm 52 years old and I'm going into my other card, which I guess is the moon card, you're saying, right?
Yes, it's the moon card. So for you, that's going to be, let's see, I have your chart right here. Your moon card will be the Ace of Spades, which is so nice because that's like the card of the occult and deep understanding and like an onion where you're peeling through the layers. So for you, it's perfect. Like it's really.
I'm gonna be wearing a big hoodie monk, like, you know, the Leo King. I have reached my Ace of Spades. But really, the Ace of Spades, I think, is super like more more spiritual. Like I'd probably be like walking around and everybody be like, now you're really thin. Because everybody's complaining, they think I'm so thin. It's like, now you're like up in a mountain. What are you doing up in a mountain? It's like, I don't know, who knows, but like that's the whole that mercurial part to me. I'm like, oh, looking at all you. I love how you use the idea of a spiral too with all this stuff. Pretty cool.
Well, that was what I was thinking when you were saying, oh, we've been through hell with Mercury. Like I was channeling a lot about the last Mercury retrograde on my channel earlier this week. And I was thinking like the 29th degree of Pisces, the Sabian symbol, is a prism with light shining through it. So it's like casting a rainbow. And what's really interesting, it's like, I feel like during the last Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, it's like we literally went through that fiery hell. Like I remember that Mercury retrograde and I was traveling and it was like some of the most serious and difficult time, like emotionally and intellectually of my life. And it was like, obviously I was having fun traveling, but there was some deeper stuff going on. And when we look at things like a spiral, right, it's like we literally are finishing a journey of Mercury. So it's like this bigger thing. It's like we're at this end and we're going to go over something again. And after this, we enter into a new rung of the spiral. So it's like we're taking all this with us.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, it's not like, oh, we begin again. It's like, no, we're taking all this with us. And there's like this deeper energy with this Mercury retrograde of surrender, like just being this prism, letting something work through us rather than controlling everything, which is, I think, like, I've been feeling that message myself lately. Like, I just need to chill out. I just need to be clear like a crystal and, you know, not like try to control everything. I feel like the worst is over, but this is a really hard Mercury retrograde. It's like, I'm feeling it. It's not easy.
No, it really is the ultimate surrender. And it also is understanding so much past 10 years. I mean, honestly, I feel like because it's retrograding over that 29th degree where Chiron just finished. And then it's also happening in the middle of a Uranus switching signs, which really Uranus entered into Aries 2010. And so and I say decade, or 10 years, but it really is like 9. I mean, if you want to start getting into stupid stuff, but really it's like this whole decade, this Mercury retrograde is like really going deep and kind of purging the good, the bad, that prism and like channeling the light of it all. And really like on the other side of this is the whole new story. And especially with where you look at all these other big stuff that's building up in astrology, like we're kind of, it's all over. Like, it's like what has been done has got us to this point. And this is that last in-between point that Mercury's just like clearing out the clutter and trying to, you know, clear out the past right now, because this is like the new vibe. This is it.
Yeah. And it really feels like anything from the past, like even if I try to like bring it back in, like it doesn't even, like I can't. Like it's like now it's like impossible. Like now it's like, no, it's like everything from that period of your life is gone. It's really a weird feeling, but it's good. It's purifying.
Well, how are people going to find out about your school and find out about how to get to the Maldives with you? Do they just find all that at your website, or do you have links on your Facebook and Instagram? Or where do people go?
Okay, so I think you put some links that I sent you in this video or in the description, right? So you can go to my website, NicoleBrenny.com, to set up a reading with me. There's like a readings page, and then I have a page called classes. So you can go look at that and read more about my course. The only thing I didn't update is that it is a certification course. So I will update that later today so you can read about that. And I also have a link below if you just want to sign up now for my class, because it is filling up. So make sure that if you want to join, that you join soon. And then for the Maldives, which I really hope people can join us because it is going to be really fun. I have a link where you can go learn more about that and sign up. And that is also just below. I think it says Maldives with like a palm tree emoji. So you guys know that it's tropical.
Yes. I know, and it's so dope that Alyssa's coming. Alyssa Sharp, like,
yes.
we're all gonna be hanging out. We got to make some videos out there.
Yes. Yeah, I'm so excited about her just because I think she's so brilliant. I think everyone coming is like so interesting. It's not like your average, no one that's going is like your average astrologer. Everyone that's going is like their own intense breed of astrology, which I think is great.
Yeah, even Joni Patry, like,
Totally.
I mean, she's a Western who went Vedic, but
she's a legend.
She goes through Western too, so it's like a very unique combination, you know?
She's Neo-Vedic. She uses Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto.
Yeah. And so everybody's got like their own thing.
Yes, and you're going to be coming onto my channel in a couple of weeks, I think the 22nd or something like that. So you guys, that'll be really fun because we're going to be talking about evolutionary astrology, which I'm hugely, hugely interested in. So
yeah, that's my wheelhouse. That's like what I like to do. That's where I get into my craziness. How you go into your cards, I go into gnarly transiting deep. Why was this century? Why was this month of that year so impactful, and what evolved and how did it evolve? And I'm going to teach people some stuff in the Maldives that will just like make them look at the world completely different forever.
I'm going to make sure none of my classes are at the time of your classes so that I can take all of your classes.
Likewise.
Because I really am interested in evolutionary astrology. And I don't know if we were going to talk about that today, but I think we're going to talk about that on my channel.
Yeah, so. We'll get it. Well, I think we kind of did, but I think we kind of showed that in the card system, it's like, look at the evolution of the soul through that. I mean, it's pretty gnarly. I mean,
the evolution of the soul as a part of nature, not as like something where you think that you're controlling everything. I feel like the cards of truth include something greater than yourself, which I think sometimes is lost in things like tarot. And it's not every time, but sometimes I feel like it does get lost. You know, we're a part of something greater than ourselves.
It does. And I think that's the whole part of the conscious evolutionary journey is that this is bigger than yourself. And I like that they're cards of truth. You know why? Because it's truth. It's like, bam, that's the card. Bam, that's what you're dealing with. And, you know, you might want it some other way, but actually, if you just accept it and go through it, you'll evolve and you will get amazing. And usually the card that'll be thrown after, or even after that, you'll understand by those points and be like, I'm so glad I went through that fucking experience and that evolution because now that this card threw up in my life, it was that made me get here and do this. And I think that's where evolutionary astrology is so big, is like, hey, this is bigger than you, because like all these people coming for readings, like, when am I going to find this and this and this and this and da, 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 da. And it's like, they don't like to hear when I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I just don't think this is going to be great. Like the universe is wanting you to learn this right now. I know you don't want to learn about your self-worth. You want a lover, but it's like, that's the reason why you don't have a lover, is your self-worth is low and you keep attracting these like people or whatever that have low self-worth. And you're just like, sitting in a pool of low self-worth because you're just attracting that. And then it'll get much more deeper than that, but it will be like all evolutionary divination tools literally are about you seeing that the universe is saying, this is where you can evolve now. And so whether we accept that or not is up to you.
And when you accept it, you actually find that you enjoy life more. So
yeah,
even if you thought that a lover was going to make you happy, what's actually going to make you happy is the step that you're on. And it's really cool to see that with the cards. And they're actually pretty easy to learn too. Like Ernst said that some of his students learn the cards in 6 months. And like I said, after 22 weeks taking my course, my students are giving readings now. So it's pretty easy to learn. You should actually learn it. You should learn it.
I know. I really should learn it. And, you know, it was like tarot when I started. Like, it takes some time, right? But like, if you do it every day, like, I've been doing tarot every day in my videos for 4.5 years. Like I pull a daily card and I use reversals. And so it's like, I mean, I don't even, somebody just tells me a card, and is it reversed? Oh, yeah. What card became before that? Oh, Well, I kind of projected to show it to people that honestly, when you're in any energy of being a channeler or a tarot reader or an astrologer or cards of truth reader, it really just when you're in it all day, it's your whole life. Like it's pretty much just like what is it? Like when people say, I go, what's your birthday? And then I'll go, what's your year? Because and then I'll be like, oh, boom. Oh, so boom, bam, 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 bam. Okay, yeah, I got bam, bam. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like once you know someone's rising sign too, it's like, okay, well, this you can literally see all the transits and you can see their birth card. It's like sometimes it's too much.
That's what I'm saying. You kind of have to have that little, yeah, okay. You kind of have to like, yeah, but it depends on the person or whatever. Like I was in Vegas this weekend and, like a bunch of people, it was like they knew their astrology. It was like crazy. I was like, wow. Oh, so you have this there, you have this there. And they're like, how do you know that? I'm like, well, you don't need to look at the chart.
Oh, you're so good at that. Like that's one of the things that I'm always impressed with you is you have a mind for detail. It's like crazy. I don't have always that kind of a detailed brain. Like you can remember dates. Like for some reason, I'm like, how can you remember all these historical dates? I am not like that. It's impressive.
I don't know, but maybe I just have a weird brain. But that's just the way I think a club is.
I think so too. It's that it is the intellect. And I'm a diamonds person, so that's a lot different.
That's why surfing and your surfboard is like, your deal.
It's so true. So come surf with us. We decided we are gonna charter
Greg, who works at Leo King, he's like my head operations manager. He's a surfer. He's like, yeah, I'm down. Let's go.
Yep, we're definitely getting a boat to go surfing. If you guys come, there's like a dolphin cruise and there's like a place where you can observe the stars, and the whole resort is its own island. That's the coolest thing. So no one on this island is going to be anyone that isn't a part of this retreat. And we're going to all have bikes where we can just like bike around the island. It's very secluded, very secure. I think it's just going to be really fun. So I hope you guys can come. I'm really excited about it. Obviously.
Me too. I'm ecstatic about it. And I'm trying to actually get them to have me do like a DJ set. So
wait a second. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I think what I was trying to have us do, which I guess maybe I shouldn't talk about these ideas, but I'm going to, is I think it would be cool to like have us do a panel of astrologers and have like all the different astrologers answer the same questions and have like a special event tonight. That'd be really fun.
And you hang out with us and chill. And if y'all don't know, I love the beach and I'm pretty relaxed on the beach. So you see a different version of me. Although once the sun goes down, that's when my 5 of clubs comes out. But when the sun's out, I'm like baking in the water, like super chill. So
I'm going to be stand-up paddleboarding. That's going to be what I'm going to do like all the time when just by myself, stand up paddleboarding into the unknown. So I'll see you guys out there.
Cool. Well, thanks, Nicole. I'll see you in a couple weeks on your channel, and I always love talking with you. And thanks for all the insight. And you always blow my mind. And as a friend, thank you because you always got my back. So it's awesome.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me on, and hello to everyone that I don't get to talk to often from your channel. The Maldives will be really fun, and I'll see you soon.
All righty. You take care.
Yes, you too. Bye.